So several years ago, I decided to go to the Bachelor's Mill. And at that time, it was a very popular gay bar. So I go upstairs, and I see this extremely good-looking guy. I mean, he's got a short little muscle body, and there's Bambi eyes, and these thick Drake eyebrows. I'm all over it. So I smile at him, and he kind of looks at me, and then he smiles, and it's just a big mouth, just full of teeth, Pete Davidson mouth. So I'm loving it. So I walk my way over there, and I make sure I'm staring at him so he knows I'm going over there for him. And when I get over there, it gets even better. I lean down to him, I said, "Hi, my name is Darryl. I've never seen you before." "Well, my name is Darryl, and I just moved up here from South Carolina." And I am a sucker for that Southern twang. So we're sitting there talking, and it really hitting off, but I know the Bachelor's Mill. And it's about to get crowded, and these guys coming in, seeing him, I won't have a chance. So I have to think fast, And I said, "Hey, you know, I was gonna ask you out, but it's such a beautiful night. Why don't we just walk around the city, and this will be our first date?" And he agrees, and I'm like, "Mr. Burns, excellent." Because I got him out of there. So I also know if we go out and kind of make a left, then coming around, we'll go through this park, and we'll be at my house. I'm thinking. So we go out, and we're just walking and talking, and like most people do when they're from out of town, they start talking about the things they like in D.C., and, you know, the museums, the free museums, the culture, the architecture. And then we start talking about the things we don't like in D.C. And he's like, "These people up here, they treat these dogs just like they're people. I see dogs dressed up, and I would never pick up after a dog." And actually, I agree. I love dogs. I grew up with a dog, but when Sparky had to do her thing, she'd scratch on the door, we'd open it up. She'd come back, scratch on the door, we let her back in. You know, Sparky's business was none of my business. I mean, she was a small dog, and there was enough grass and fields and whatnot. It was okay. So then I tell him what I hate about D.C. is all the litter, all the paper. I mean, I've actually seen someone pull up to a stop sign, just toss a Popeye's bag right out, and keep on going. It's ridiculous. I've never seen that where I grew up. So, you know, we're walking and talking, and I'm like a half step behind him, you know, so I can check out those bow legs and everything else that's back there. And I'm like, oh yeah. And then, you know, we're walking and talking, and we kind of get up to the place where I know this park is, and that means we're only 3 blocks away from my house. And I'm like, okay. And so he kind of looks up at me. I said, I know what's gonna happen, you know, he wants a kiss. And I kind of lean down, and he said, "No, I gotta pee. I'll be right back." Okay, so he goes over behind a bush, you know, no big deal. And then I'm like, okay, we're 3 blocks from my house. You know, should I be surprised when we get there? Hey, that's my house. You know, that's ridiculous, because I know where I live. So then I decide, you know what, I'm just gonna say, hey, that's my house. And see if he says, oh, can I go in? You know, I'm just thinking, and then I'm like, okay. Well, you know, I'm waiting for him. And then I'm waiting for him. Because, you know, as we were walking, every now and then he'd pick up a piece of paper, and I'm like, oh, he knows I don't like litter, so he's kind of thinking. And then we were walking some more, and he picked up another piece of paper, and I'm like, well, this is kind of excessive, but, you know, maybe I could learn something. So as I'm standing there, I kind of hear this, like, grunt-type sound, and I hear this crumpling paper. You got it. He was taking a shit behind that bush. And so then, the hairs on the back of my neck are just standing up because this is not normal. This is not normal. I mean, I grew up in the country, but I'm not a bear. This is not normal. So he comes walking back. We continue walking, but now I'm not a half step behind him. I'm a half step in front of him, and he is no longer cute, he is no longer good looking, and he is not coming to my house. But I gotta think of a little exit plan, and I'm polite, so I continue conversation. And I'm like, growing up, my mother was a teacher, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, my people grew up, working the land for other people. And I'm like, oh, interesting. But my mind is saying, he cannot come to my house. He cannot come to my house. So I was like, you know what? Let's just loop back around, head back to the bachelor's meal, and maybe we'll exchange numbers. Maybe. Why did I say maybe? He looks at me, and now he's a little angry head. You think you better than me because your mama a school teacher? No, I think I'm better than you because you just took a shit behind a bush. And this is DC. You can get fined for not picking up shit.